JFD, just fair and direct.
Okay, hello and good morning everyone. Welcome to JFD Traders Espresso with me, Darius Anucauskas. Today's the 2nd of September 2021. So welcome everyone. Welcome to this Thursday's morning session where we're going to have a very quick look at the markets, a few of the charts, the usual stuff. But before we do that, as always, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimer. So, the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation, should not be considered as such, and does not in any way constitute an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. As always, I'll give you a few seconds to read the rest and we can continue. Okay, so now then, also just before we jump into the charts, as always, quick mentioning of our JFD YouTube channel, to which you can always subscribe to in order not to miss any of our upcoming videos, and of course our JFD Bank website and specifically our JFD research page, which we also update on a daily basis. So check us out here on jfdbank.com and click on the research tab right there on the top. So now then, jumping into the charts, so quick update here on Nikkei 225. So long story short, but mission accomplished here. So basically what I was talking about from the beginning of this week, that if we pop above this downside line together with this 27,900 territory, then yes, this could open the door towards some higher levels. Initially I'll aim for that 100-day EMA, then the 28,280 zone, and then if it continues to rise, then my next target is the downside line taken from the high of the 16th of February, which we managed to reach perfectly. So good achievement here. Now the big question here is, can it push further north? Certainly, in order to be a little bit more on the careful side, a break of this downside line would be needed in order to aim for some higher levels. But given that this daily candle here kind of closed a little bit as a doji, I would say, and which could be seen as a bit of a reversal signal. However, don't get me wrong, this doesn't mean that it would, if it does reverse, then it reverses hard here. No, I mean, it could just drift back down here and go for a little bit of a correction, maybe test the 28,280 zone together with that 100-day EMA, and if it provides good support, then yes, a nice rebound here could be possible, and then maybe this is where we could break this downside line and move further north. Also, let me just redraw some things here, and let's reuse this downside line, no longer needed, and let's use this as to draw an upside support line, tentative of course, a short-term upside support line taken from the low of the 20th of August. So in a way, even if we see a bit of a larger correction, for example, here, then if let's say it does move to the downside, then there is kind of plenty of room here for the bulls to step in. I mean, if this 100-day EMA together with this upside line does provide good support, and then yes, the bulls can step in and drive this one up again. So again, for now, I would say, like I said, we did reach our target, so now we can, I would say, rest a little bit here on Nikkei just to see what it's going to do after. If it pushes straight away through this downside line, yes, this could open the door towards higher levels, where my next target could be around here, the high of the 25th of June actually, and that level is approximately around the 29,174 zone. So so long story short, at the moment, like I said, we're taking a break on this one, and we're just going to keep an eye on the price action. The German index DAX, so a bit of another roller coaster ride yesterday. And for now, I would say, well, we violated the triangle. Yep, we pushed higher, we moved north, but didn't really reach the all-time high, which is roughly around that 16,030 territory. And but then we drifted back down. I mean, and we repeated the same scenario yesterday as the day before that. We broke through the through the upper side of the triangle, and then we reversed at the end of the day. We reversed back down and closed the trading session in the red again, and we managed to test the lower side of the triangle, which we'll now just keep keep monitoring as a little short-term upside line here, taken from the low the 19th of August. But this one we'll just have to get rid of it here from the downside line here, and just stick to something like this. Now, of course, some of you might say that maybe, just maybe, we could be somewhere in the middle of forming of a nice potential ascending triangle. However, let's keep that idea as a secondary one for now. I would say, as long as the index stays somewhere in between this barrier, the 16,030 zone, and this upside line, to be honest, I'll take a neutral stand on this one, because just it's too close. I mean, it could be too choppy, so that's why I just want to observe the price action and see which way this one's going to end up going. Now, if we take a look at the cash index right now and look at the price where we're sitting at right now, then we'll see that we're sitting near the 15,780 zone. So basically not far, so just basically on this upside line. So if it continues to provide support, then yes, a nice rebound here might be possible. But if it breaks it, then yes, we could maybe consider some lower levels, but I would actually prefer to wait for a drop below this 15,700 territory, just to be a little bit more on the safe side. Nasdaq 100, so created a new all-time high yesterday again, pushed higher. But this is where the interesting thing here is, that it closed below, slightly below the previous all-time high, which was roughly around that 15,620 zone. So the current all-time high, and let me just grab a new line here, probably. Just bear with me one moment. There we go. So the current all-time high is near the 15,696 territory. So the cash index currently is trading near the 15,620 territory. So basically near that previous all-time high. Again, I would say that this is where I like to use that theory of mine, that if we do see, let's say, a closure below, let's say we go ahead and create a new all-time high, but then at the end of the day we still close below the previous all-time high, then, well, sometimes that leads to percentage-wise, I mean, that leads, it seems like there's a greater probability that for a bit of a correction here. However, this is the problem here with that correction, of seeing that correction, because we're still above this upside line, so taken from the low the 19th of August. So even if it kind of maybe stays somewhere below that 15,620 territory, still keep your eyes on this upside line, because if that continues to provide support, then, well, maybe we're not done with the upside. But if this upside line gets broken and we see then a nice drop here below this 15,447 territory, now that's where it can become a little bit more interesting for a few more sellers. Dow Jones Industrial Average, now this one continues to struggle. So you can see that we have closed already for the third day in a row in negative territory. Not much, of course, but when the S&P and Nasdaq goes ahead and creates new all-time highs and closes even slightly in the positive territory, Dow Jones closes slightly in the negative. Well, I mean, the financials are not doing very good right now, and of course airline stocks as well. So so here we are seeing a bit of weakness here in the Dow Jones Industrial Average. However, still on the positive side is the fact that we are still trading above some of these upside lines. Now, the first one that I talked about was this little short-term tentative one taken from the low of the 19th of July, and for now I would say that if this upside line continues somehow to provide support, then yes, we're not done with the upside. We need to see a break of this upside line in order to get a little bit more maybe excited with a larger correction to the downside. But again, at the moment we're still seeing the index trading strongly above this upside line. So, well, sorry, maybe not the word strongly, but just still comfortably above this upside line and also above the 21-day EMA. So maybe we're not really done with the upside yet. Dxy Dollar Index. So here, as you can see, we are now back to this key support territory. I talked about this one from the beginning of this week. This 92.47, and yeah. So for now, we're stuck here. We're testing it. We're currently breaking it, but again, as you can see, for the past kind of couple of days here, trading days here, we were also breaking that hurdle, but as you can see, the daily candle kind of kept staying above this area. So in other words, for now, I would say let's be very careful still, although it's looking quite to the downside here, but I would need to see a stronger move lower below this, and actually I would prefer to see the candle body here remaining below this hurdle, below this 92.47 territory, and then yes, we could consider maybe a move towards this 200-day EMA together with the 100-day EMA, and then we'll take it from there. For the upside, well, pretty straightforward. The same analysis here, the same scenario remains valid. I need to see a break of this downside line and a push somewhere above this 92.80 territory, because at the same time, well, we would be placed above this key area of support and resistance, because previously, as you can see, recently it acted as a good area of resistance, then before that it was a good area of support. So, and also this level coincides with the 21-day EMA, which potentially a break of which could, of course, or may, of course, attract more buyers to this. So shouldn't use the word of course, but yeah, may attract more buyers into the game. Gold. So, gold continues to trade above this upside line. I talked about this from the beginning of this week. This is something that I told you to keep an eye on, and now the more we kind of hang around here, of course, the more concerns it raises, because basically, let's see if that's going to eventually hold or not, but that's why I would prefer my upside scenario to be from after a break of this 1823 territory, which is marked by the current highest point of this week, and if we clear that, then this would confirm a forthcoming higher high, and of course then the next target is the 1834 level. I mean, my arrow here it goes further than that, but to be honest, I would aim for initially for the highest point of July 1st near the 1834 zone. That's in terms of the upside. In terms of the downside, now, as you can see, this 1809 territory somehow continues to do its job and continues to provide support, but if we get a nice drop below it, then yeah, potentially this could open the door towards lower areas. WTI oil. So looking at this picture here, yep. So far, in a way, so good for the bulls, because we are still trading above all of the EMAs here on our daily chart. We are still above this 67.47 territory I spoke about previously, but this is probably where I need to adjust this level. This is for in terms of the downside I'm talking about. So for the downside, probably I'll keep an eye on the 67 territory in general, because again, recently, as you can see, it did do its job. It did kind of provide somehow support, and together with the 100-day EMA, of course, so it just probably would be a little bit more wise to have our little short-term downside scenario from this 67 territory. For now, as long as the price remains above all of these EMAs here, then yes, there is still a chance for a push higher, but not much again, because let's not forget that we're still trading below this downside line seen from the high of the 6th of July. Litecoin, so perfect pop. Yesterday I told you about this, guys, and I was telling you to keep an eye on these two lines, these two little short-term trend lines, which kind of formed a triangle here, and yeah, so we broke the downside line here, and we stayed above it, and now yes, it seems that Litecoin wants to continue pushing further north. It also overcame the high of the 29th of August here near the 182.84 level, and if it remains above that area, the next target here could be this 191.73 territory marked by the high of the 23rd of August. So let's see, or in other words, the highest point of August. So let's see how this is going to play out. For now, I'm leaning a little bit more towards the upside on this one. Bitcoin, so this one's interesting as well. Haven't looked at Bitcoin for quite a while, but also it did make a good move here. It's currently getting a little hold up here near the high of the 29th of August, but kind of the positives, on the positive side, the fact that it broke above this downside line taken from the high of the 23rd of August, yes, that kind of gives a bit more reassurance for the bulls here. However, again, if they manage to push the rate above this 49,650 territory right here, then yes, we'll continue aiming higher, and my next target here could be this highest point of August near the 50,558 level. So let's see how that's going to play out. For the downside, I need to see a drop somewhere below this little territory right here near the 46,310 zone, and then yes, we could consider slightly lower levels, because a break below this would confirm a forthcoming lower low. Now AUD USD, guys, so this one's quite interesting because it continues to trade above this downside line. So we managed to overcome this first downside line, because as you can see, we have a few of these, although tentative of course, but nevertheless I'm still keeping an eye on them. So after we reversed higher, after kind of testing the area near the 0.71 territory here, yep, the pair started moving higher, broke the downside line. This is what I talked about last week, if you remember. I spoke about this downside line and said that in order to go for some higher levels, we need to see a break of it. And well, I mean, we got that break. We remained above that downside line. We remained above the 0.7290 territory as well. And now we're on our way to test the next area, next possible resistance area near the 0.7410 territory right here. And then of course we do have that that other downside line here, tentative of course, but nevertheless a downside line which we could eventually get a test off. So long story short, for now I'm leaning a little bit more towards the upside. And another thing, of course, what we can do is reuse this this recently broken downside line and convert it into an upside one here, taken from the low of the 20th of August. And yep, you can see so far we are trending nicely here to the upside in the short run, but again we do have our little obstacles on the way higher. So let's see if we can reach those. So yeah, USD Jpy, quick update, not going to spend too much time on this one, but initially we've seen some good activity here, and yeah, the pair did move higher, broke these little short-term downside lines here, but failed to stay above those, and yep, reversed back down. It's back into this, well, we can call it a triangle here, I mean, and let's get rid of this actually, this short-term downside line, and let's focus mainly on these two lines right here, and we'll see that we are still kind of stuck in this little triangle pattern. Now previously for the downside I talked about this 109.41 level, but as the further we the more we coil up here, I mean we can lift our potential breakout area for the downside. And now I can keep an eye on this 109.58 territory right here. Let's see if we can drop below that, and if we can, then yes, it could open the door towards lower areas. But of course, for the upside, still sticking to this 110.58 level. If we break the downside line and then push through that barrier, then then yes, higher levels could be met. So one of those exotic pairs that I tried to look at occasionally, and US dollar against the Mexican peso, and as you can see here, we have ourselves a very nice pattern. The pair is also coiling up here. We are trading above above this upside line here, taken from the low of the 9th of June here. So the short-term upside line is still valid, but at the same time, on a bigger picture, we are still trading below this downside line taken from the high of the 24th of September of last year, and this means that basically we are kind of stuck here right now, and we need to see a nice good clear break through one of those lines before, let's say, considering the next short-term directional move. But given, of course, that we are very close right now to this upside line, of course all eyes are on this one, and if it fails to provide support and breaks, then, well, I mean, we could consider some lower areas here, maybe even a move back to this lowest point of June near the 19.5990 level. So, but again, for that, for us to consider that move, a break of this upside line is needed. GBP Aussie, so this one managed to break the upside line here. So if you remember last week, and actually the week before that, I talked a lot about this pair. We were moving nicely to the upside here, and we found resistance near this hurdle, the one that I mentioned here, this 1.9127 territory. Of course, we slightly overshot that, but as you can see, neither of the daily candles bodies managed to stay above it, and instead we drifted back down, and now we have broken this upside line taken from the low of the 10th of May. So in a way, I would say keep your eyes on the downside here. We're still also trading below the steep downside line taken from the high of the, actually, let me just adjust this a little bit here. There we go. So we're still trading below this steep downside line taken from the high of the 24th of August. And as long as it stays intact, then, well, I mean, the near-term outlook could still remain bearish on this GBP AUD pair. Now, Euro JPY, also decent performance here on Euro JPY. We managed to break this downside line taken from the high of the 16th of June. Yep, there we go. And now we're heading towards this other downside line, tentative of course, but nevertheless a downside line which could get tested as well. So at the same time, we're trading above this upside support line, also a steep one, but nevertheless an upside support line which we're carefully monitoring. And yeah, so let's see if we can continue rallying here, and if we can test this downside line here. That's my target for now. Of course, if it continues to trade above this upside line, if it breaks this upside line, then, well, I mean, we could maybe consider a bit of a corrective move here to the downside. However, I wouldn't say that it could be a huge one, because we do have the 21-day and the 200-day EMAs here, which could still provide support, and yep, could provide a bit of a hold up, a nice hold up here, and maybe even attract the bulls back into the game. However, that for the downside, like I said, the downside scenario right now is slightly off the table as long as the pair remains above this upside line right here, taken from the low of the 20th of August. And finally, EURUSD. So this one is quite interesting. Yesterday we popped higher, we broke this downside line. I talked about this one, and yep, now what I said to you before, in the beginning of this week, that even if we break the downside line, still I would prefer to wait for a nice good push up of this 1.1857 territory. And as you can see, this is exactly where we found resistance yesterday, and, well, again, it just kind of proves that this is quite an important level to watch. So if we clear that level, then yes, we could go for the upside, for further upside. But if we struggle with that, and we, let's say, drift back below the downside line here, and then fall somewhere below this hurdle here, the 1.18 1.1805 zone, then well, maybe we're actually maybe the bulls here were a bit too ambitious, and maybe the bears could step in again. However, let's say for now we're keeping an eye on this downside line, keeping an eye on this 1.1857 territory. If we pop above it, then yes, my next target is the 100-day EMA together with the 200-day EMA, which coincide at the moment, and yep, that's going to be my next target, and let's see if that's going to play out or not. And slightly above that, we do have the highest point of July, which also could get tested, and that's roughly around the 1.1909 level. But again, like I said, let's go step by step on this one slowly, and let's keep an eye on this 1.1857 territory for now. So guys, that's it for this session. I really hope you found it useful, and thank you very much for your views, for your likes, guys. Really appreciate that. So if you want to catch me tomorrow morning, as always, at my trader's Espresso, that's 6 o'clock GMT time. For now, have a wonderful trading day. Stay safe, have your stop losses in place, and everything will be fine. So thank you very much, and bye-bye.